Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Karkadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, the great millstone, preaching the word, truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word, truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching his word, truthfully and sincerely. And I say shalom to your Akim out there on this February the 19th, 2022, on this Saturday afternoon. And this is a sit-down lesson from what I'm about to do on this situation and matter right here. The highlight of this news article, and it reads from the Jerusalem Post. It says the 2 Ukrainian soldiers killed in a pro-Russian separatist bombing. And it says separatist leaders in eastern Ukraine declare full military mobilization. A current focus on the crisis in eastern Ukraine, where Russian-backed rebels seized the Swati of the territory in 2014, same year that Moscow exits the Ukraine Crimean region. And it says the region, after protests, there toppled a pro-Russian leader. Kyiv said more than 14,000 people have died since died in the conflict in the east. It says a Russian-backed separatist leaders of eastern Ukraine declared a full military mobilization on Saturday, a day after ordering women and children. I meant to say Slovakia. Evacuate the southern Russia because of what they said was the threat of conflict. And it says Denis Pushkin's head of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic said in a video statement that he had signed a decree on mobilization and called on men able to hold a weapon into their hands to come to military commissurates, I believe. I couldn't really pronounce that word all the way, but continuing on with the news article, it says another separatist leader, Leon Polishchi, signed a similar decree for the Donetsk People's Republic shortly after the separatist authorities on Friday announced a plan to evacuate around about 700,000 people, citing fears of an imminent attack by Ukraine forces, and accusations that Kyiv flatly denied. That goes back into the rumors of wars. You should hear in the book of Matthew 24:6, you should hear wars and rumors of wars. So you hear anything that's a rumor of, that's mentioned about like war, it's just going to be a rumor, and the rumor is going to become a reality as well too. So it's a balance. It says less than 7,000 have been evacuated in the Donetsk as of Saturday morning, right? Because I seen the news article. I think the first migrants arrived in Russia, I believe, and it says the morning local emergency ministry says. It says in a breakaway region, Denis Pushkin's head of the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic, and said he had a decree of mobilization calling on men able to hold a weapon in their hands to come to military commissurates. It says another separatist leader, Polishchi, signed a similar decree for the Donetsk People's Republic shortly afterwards. And it says separatists on Friday announced plans to evacuate around about 700,000 people. And it says Russian news agencies said on Saturday about 100,000 evacuees has arrived so far in Russia. And it says at a market of Diski's, a 38-year-old Polishkin boarded an evacuation bus with her 9-year-old son and her mother. It says they were accompanied by the Federal Moskow's brother Yuri, who stayed behind in Donskis. Damn, I couldn't pronounce that country name right. It says they don't let men on, and I wouldn't go anyway, frankly, Yuri said. I am a reserve in any case. I am a artillery man by birth. I am loyal to my state, to my people. It says shelling across the line, diving government forces and separatists increasingly sharpening this week in what the Ukrainian government call a precaution. A deep exploded outside a rebel government building in the city of Donetsk on Friday, and Russian news agencies said that 2 explosions hit Litsky and a part of a gas pipeline in the area caught fire. It says the Ukrainian military also said that 2 soldiers were killed in a shelling by pro-Russian separatists on Saturday morning. And it says the Eastern Ukraine military also said on Saturday it has recorded 12 ceasefire violations by pro-Russian separatists in the Eastern Ukraine in the morning after 66 cases. Go back right to it. Internet kind of tweaking. Slovakia for that. Internet tweaking. Yeah, get back to what I was saying. I guess the article connection page trying to come up is still continuing to load. It says, let me read it again for edification's sake. It says, Ukraine's military also said on Saturday it had recorded 12 ceasefire violations by the pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine in the morning after 66 cases in the previous 24 hours. It says separatist authorities also reported that they were shelling by Ukrainian forces of several villages on Saturday. A separatist opened fire more than 20 settlements using heavy artillery, which is have prohibited by Minsk agreement, the military said. The Minsk Accords aims to an 8-year-long conflict. Right, it aims to end an 8-year-long conflict. The Ukrainian army separatists in the east of the country, but both sides regularly trade blame for ceasefire violations. It says the head of Russia-dominated military, Slovakia for the background, cars in the background, I'm outside. It says alliance that sometimes called Moscow's answers to NATO has said its organizations could see peacekeepers to the territory in eastern Ukraine controlled by the Russian-backed rebels if needed. It says the situation of the 2 proclaimed pro-Russian republics in the Ukraine, the Donbass region. It says the Donbass region is on a knife edge after rebel leaders declare a full mobilization of their forces and ask civilians to evacuate to Russia following the shelling, which Ukraine and the separatists rebel blame on each other. And it says in an interview conducting before the evacuation began, Sanctilis as Secretary General of the Moscow-based Collective Security Treaty Organization, which is the CSTO of the Collective Security Treaty Organization. It says the body dispatched peacekeepers to the mosque if there was an international consensus for such a deployment. Hypothetically, you can imagine it's such a deployment if there was a goodwill from Ukraine. it is after all their territory. If there was a UN Security Council mandate, it was needed, and the decision was supported by all the government. SAS, a Belarus Lithuanian general, told Reuters in what aides said was the first Russian media of interview. And he says proposed organizations last month to deploy the troops in the former Soviet Union for the first time in 20 years in history to help quell the attempt coup in Kazakhstan. And the only way to resolve the crisis in Ukraine is through negotiations. I don't believe that situation now will return to how it used to be, with tanks, with houses and their bases, and soldiers in their barracks. It wouldn't happen. There's a need to be an understanding about the necessaries to sit down and at the table and agree something in its new reality. Says as it says the CSTO draws on the armed forces and its 6 members: Russian, Belarus, Armenian, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, Russia, and all of the active forces of the 900,000. By so far, it's by far the CSSTO's more powerful members, and the organization under fighting the military headquarters is heading by Russia. And it says a CSTO has a 17,000 strong forces containing the readiness and a specialized peacekeeping forces of a nearly 4,000 troops, I meant to say. Recalculate that. The CSTO's development of the Donbass seems unlikely for now. They're giving organizations the geopolitical allegiance and a view. Internet tweaking. A view in the West that is a toll of Russian influence. It says, but the situation in eastern Ukraine is changing fast as Moscow attempts to compel Kyiv to hold direct talks with the rebels and the 2 regions that control measures of the octane within Ukraine. So, as I was reading that whole article right here, I wasn't going to read all of it because it's a very long article to read, back to what the highlight of the article of it was reading the headline of it, it was saying about the 2 Ukrainian soldiers was killed in a pro-Russian separatist bombing, and, and a lot of activity been going on for the past couple of days. You've been seeing of a guy, it was one report saying that it was a separatist leader or government leader, I believe, one of the I don't know, it was from Russia or from the Ukraine side, they was trying to target a leader, in a car bombing. It was only damaging in the area, over there. So, and then it was, like a day later, it was like 2 more extra explosions. It was regarding like a gas pipeline leakage in the gas area over there in that region over there in the eastern Ukraine part over there. So, it's been a lot of somewhat, activities been going on so far over there. Now we got this new report right here saying, 2 Ukrainian soldiers been killed, by pro-separatists in a bombing, And then there was another report out too. It was, I said it about like an hour or 2 ago from RT News. If the report is true, had like it was a shelling bombing or something like that, right next to the Ukraine border. So, right next to the Russian border, I believe. So they kind of I guess the Russians kind of blame it on the Ukrainians for doing that, could stir up the tensions, especially what you already got the current situation, the current situation with the, Russia and Moscow and the Ukraine border crisis situation. So, that goes back into the continual of increase of the, you should hear wars and rumors of wars, and it's definitely increasing in the last days, and expect to see more of the increase of these things. Some of them is going to be a rumor, and some of them it's going to be a fallout truth of a rumor, that's coming into reality, in the times in the hell that we're heading in, and I'm going to bring out a scripture for that as well, too. Locking for them. These signs of these things to come is definitely increasing, especially these tensions gonna stir up, even if it's a false claim or not, some of these rumors of wars is gonna come a reality, and some of these things we've been seeing in the news is definitely, that's like war type related. It became a reality, and then it's coming to reality. And this is the book of Matthew chapter 24 verse 6. And ye should hear of wars and rumors of wars. Like I mentioned before, I just brought out that news article about the two separatist soldiers got killed by pro-Russians, supposedly by a bomb attack, because you got tensions going on. They've been going on since 2014, and they throwing shots at each other and blaming one another of I believe like 24 treaties of ceasefire violations. It went from 24 to 64 violations of that, so that's what you get that attention of the two different nations of people, even though they are Idumeans, in the same country, but different parts of the country. They are Idumeans, the Ukrainians and the Russians. Some of them like Magog or the Medes. Magog and Magog. It says, but that's another topic. But I'm continuing at the topic at hand. That's right now of the article that I just read about the current situation. It says, I'm reading it again for edification's sake. This is the book of Matthew 24 and 6. And ye should have wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, right? Because we seeing these things are coming to pass. And we seeing it right before our eyes, of these increase of the wars and rumors of wars, the nations arise against nations and the kingdom against kingdoms. And we seeing it right before our eyes, even though, like I mentioned before in my previous videos, of the sit-down lessons, I was doing this and keeping a watch on these things, because these are biblical prophecies. Prophecies are the times that we are living in, In verse 7, for nations shall rise against nations, like I mentioned before, kingdom against kingdoms, an increase of that as well too. And there shall be famines, an increase of famines. You see these famines, which we so commonly used to seeing around Ethiopia, Yemen, parts of third world countries like that. But you start to see these other countries, these big countries, taking the toll on that famine as well too. It's going to increase around the world as well too. And pestilence and diseases, plagues. We've been seeing an increase of that as well too. And it says in earthquakes in diverse places. Right, we've been seeing these storms, floodings, landslides, and it was a gone. And you had like a flooding over there in like parts of Eastern Europe. It was like about 13 people had died, and then it was like I don't know if it was like a hurricane or no, matter of fact, it was like a storm Douglas, and it was over there in the region like German or Poland, I believe. The death toll rise over there was like 6, and the death toll combined, over there in those countries. So it was like a record-breaking flooding of storms over there and high strong winds. So these are the signs of the increase of those different categories of damaging of increase of these storms and these quakes and mudslides, and everything like that. for an example, especially you can read that in the book of Isaiah 29:6. The Lord of hosts shall visit this place with storms, flames of devouring fire, roughly paraphrase, because the Heavenly Father is visiting this place with a strong magnitude of these earthquakes. I say during the next couple of months, you're going to expect to see more of increase of these earthquakes in diverse places and these heavy storms and the devouring of flames of fire. You're going to see these things, and it's going to increase, intensify in the last days, So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying through the spirit of power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory and honor to Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory and honor to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, great millstone, preaching word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching word truthfully and sincerely. And definitely shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird. Until next time, I will say shalom.